Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Witness, let's get one thing straight. The defendant whom you claim to have met. She was wearing the demon warding hood, correct? Of course. That is a very important piece of clothing, I'll have you know. Wait a minute.
Objection!
Hold it right there. Why do you have that? That's the question of the day, now isn't it, Miss Von Karma? I'll have you know what this hood was given. That this hood was given to someone as a gift that night, before the lights out bell was rung. What? You know what I'm going, where I'm going with this, do you? Don't you? If the witness had seen the defendant as she claims, the defendant couldn't have been wearing this very hood. Well. Oh my god. The fucking crates. It's not a bad feeling at all exposing contradictions like this. Now I understand that happy look on Wright's face every time he does it. Order! Oh no. Sister. This hood. You have spare ones around the temple, don't you? Spares? Well, I do tend to make too many of them. I see, a stockpile, a surplus of hoods, eh? Each knight is only given one hood. This should be the only hood that Iris owned. Then this is quite strange. Oh. If there was a surplus of hoods, then she could have just worn one of those. There's no contradiction here. Sorry to break this to you, Miss Von Karma, but you won't get away that easily. Discrepancies such as this will sow seeds in any human heart. The seeds of doubt. Witness! While I don't wish to call your testimony into doubt, you must give every detail with precision. I'm not sure I'm comfortable going along with this. Sister, you shall continue with your testimony. Tell us what you saw after finishing your bath on your way back to the inner temple. The seeds of doubt are sprouting in the judge's heart. They just need a little more stimulation to bear fruit. Contradictory stimulation. After my bath. I finished my bath around 11, and I thought I should return to the inner temple. And as I was walking back, I heard a noise from the courtyard. I took a look, and Iris was, oh, Mystic Elise. And with that sword of all things. Damn, oh god, that was really vicious looking. Mystic Elise was staying in the courtyard, which faces a corner room, which faces out into the courtyard. The stabbing I saw must have occurred after she was pushed out of her window. You saw a terrible sight, didn't you? If I was in your place, then it would be much like Miss Von Karma whipping Mr. Edgeworth in two in court, and me seeing it all from this very chair. Well, something like that. This judge. His imagination is about as vivid and creative as Detective Gumshoes. I would look the fool if I commented on such foolishness. Anyway, this case is mine, Miles Edgeworth. Calling everyone by their full name, can't you do something a bit about that habit of yours? Von Karma. Why do you gotta do what you gotta do?
Hold it!
How far is that from your room to the inner temple? Let me think a moment. About 20 minutes on these stumps of mine. It's about 15 minutes to Dusky Bridge from Hazakura Temple. The inner temple is just beyond the bridge. Still, you never made it back there that night, did you? That's right. I was heading along the walkway toward the main hall.
Hold it!
You say you heard a noise. Thump, just like that. That can only be the sound of the victim falling. It's very quiet in the temple, you know. You can't even hear the snow falling from the branches. Thump, just like that. But then, couldn't the noise you heard have been snow falling to the ground? I never thought of that. Oh, ho, ho. There. The next one to laugh gets a whipping. Well, whatever the source of the sound, I looked over at the courtyard and...
Hold it!
This is the second time that the witness has testified to seeing the defendant, but some doubt remains in these claims. Hey, just what does that mean? Just because you're a good-looking young man doesn't give you the right to... The murderer who stabbed the victim with the sword. Sister Bikini, try to recall exactly what it was you saw as clearly as you can. Well, you're a handsome young man, so I'll forgive you. Oh, now that you mention it, there was something awfully strange about her. Something that has been bugging me all this time. Please, don't keep us in suspense. Her hood! Her hood. That's right, it's coming back to me. Iris, she wasn't wearing her hood. Damn it. Good God, that is an awful looking image right there. I thought something was out of place, but it all makes sense now, doesn't it? After all, she'd given that hood away to someone else. Huh. You've dug your own grave, Miles Edgeworth. I'll see you after court. What do you say? Is this testimony important? No, it's not important at all. Not important at all. I don't think it really matters. Yeah, it's important. This may initially appear to put me at a disadvantage, but I can't see any other leads at the moment. Your Honor, I would like these new statements to be added to the testimony. Miles Edgeworth, if you want to hang yourself, you need only to ask. I'll gladly lend you my whip. Witness, add that statement to your testimony. No problem. What did she look like? You're sure about that? Yes. After all, we always wear the same clothes. I don't remember because we're poor, you understand? I don't mean because we're poor. It's our style, yes, that's it. There's absolutely no need to explain yourself. Anyway, she looked different from normal, so that really stuck out. Like me holding a whippet puppet instead of my whip. At least then it might bite you and not someone else. Iris didn't have her hood, I'm sure of that. Very well. Now please tell us about the victim, eh?
Hold it!
The room the victim was staying in overlooked the courtyard, correct? Which means the victim was on the second floor. No. Hazakura Temple is a single-story building. But the mountain itself slopes downward, which elevates the main gate side of the temple and the guest rooms in the back to about the height of a 2-story building. I see. And the victim was staying in one of these elevated rooms, correct? Yes, I should know. I'm the one who carried her things to her room after all. The stabbing itself must have occurred after she was pushed out of the window. You got that wrong. She died before. Impressive logic, that's what I'd like to say anyway. Oh, please do. My brain is something else, especially in winter. However, I think you are overlooking one thing. Miss Von Karma, would you be so kind as to take another look at the autopsy report? The autopsy report? The victim did fall from a height of 10 feet. However, this fall was after she was killed. That's right. It says after death right here. The scene the witness claims to have seen is contradictory. And the defendant stabbed and killed the victim here in the courtyard. How did the victim then go on to take a 10-foot fall? Order. The victim was killed and then fell. What if that is the case, then the victim must have been killed in her room. Don't you agree? That is the logical conclusion. Yes, that's right. The victim must have been stabbed by the defendant in her own room. and when she was then thrown out the window down into the courtyard below. Where were any signs of the struggle in Miss Elise's room? She was stabbed with a sword. That would leave a bloodstain, wouldn't you agree? Well, Miss Von Karma, where was the blood? Was there any blood? No traces of blood were found in the victim's room. Your whip has just caused a trace of blood to be found on my glorious playoff beard. However, if there was no blood in the room, then your claim that... I'm sure there's no need for me to go over this. I'm sure Your Honor is well aware of when a stab wound produces the most blood. When it produces the most blood, yeah, when you remove it. Very little blood is actually lost at the moment of the blade's insertion. If you want to talk about when the most blood would be lost from a body, that would be when the blade's removed. Or shifted around. Indeed, with the weapon still in place, it acts like a lid on the wound. That's true. With the weapon still in the body, there wouldn't be as much bleeding. A perfectly reasonable line of thinking. We have come to a conclusion then. The victim was thrown out of the window with the sword still in place. This removes all of the contradictions. Order! I must admit that this is a probable version of events. A probable, whoops. I'd expect no less from Franziska von Karma. She locates and takes control of every vital point. It seems that we need a clear testimony from the witness. Remove all supposition on your part and tell us only the truth, please. Witness, please! Remain standing on the crate. Don't go selling me short now. The weight of the winter snow has bent me out of shape, especially my back and my mood. Sister, please give us your testimony. I will give you a vigorous massage once we are finished here. With the whip? Oh boy. All right, all right. When I looked across at the scene, the sword was already in place. Thinking about it now, I didn't actually see her stab Mystic Elise. I've never seen so much blood before. That's when I fainted. I can't blame me, can you? And when I awoke, Mystic Ami was stabbing Mystic Elise through the back. This all confirms Mr. Von Karma's theory. Von Karma strive for perfection, and for nothing but perfection. Putting together such facts is nothing for me. You should know that, Miles Edgeworth. Perfection is an impossibility, Franziska von Karma, and I'm here to teach you just that. When I looked across the scene, the sword was already in place. At that time, was the victim bleeding? Well, I was very shocked to be seeing all this, of course. So I'm not entirely sure. But I don't think I saw any blood, not there. Then, I'm sure that you didn't. The weapon was acting as a plug in the wound. In any case, let's be clear on one very important point. Did you actually see the instant in which the victim was stabbed? Are you sure he's trying to remove the blade? Think carefully. This is very important. It's Iris we're talking about here. I'm thinking for all I'm worth. No, when I looked over, the sword was already in Mystic Elise's body. Might not be conclusive, but this testimony supports her theory. The victim was stabbed in her room and then dropped out into the courtyard. I think this proves it rather well, Mr. Edgeworth.
Hold it!
The sword would have had to been removed. So you're saying that you saw the victim's blood? That's right. Some of it had splattered onto Iris, too. When the defendant was arrested, she was meditating in her room, and her blood-flecked clothing was neatly folded in the corner. Again, that doesn't sound like a fucking setup at all. What? The clothes were blood-flecked as well. That seems quite conclusive to me. What should I do? Press this point further, of course. Going back to your previous statement, you said that you saw a little bleeding when the victim was stabbed. But now you say you saw the victim bleeding. Well, I say that. What I saw is what I saw. What did you see? Maybe I didn't see the poor woman get stabbed, but I saw the girl pull the sword out of her, plain as day. Pulling the sword out? Well, it wasn't exactly pulling. It was more like came out. Witness, you will add this statement to the testimony. Oh, was that important? More important than you can imagine. Smoothly drawn out? Are you sure about that? Because from this, it looks like you'd have to kind of wiggle that shit out, or at least jerk it out. Sister Bikini, you are a reliable witness. At least I'd like to think so, but there are too many contradictions here. What do you mean? You make it sound as though I'm a liar. But you're a handsome young man, so I'll forgive you. What contradictions are you talking about? In the scene that the witness claims to have seen, the weapon was thrust up to its hilt into the victim. Furthermore, the killer withdrew the weapon smoothly from the body. Yeah, you would have had to like put your foot on her back and really just yank that shit out. However, both of these are complete impossibilities. Please explain. Explain yourself. To start with, do you think it would be possible to stab someone to the hilt with this? I mean, yeah, it would be hard, but it's still possible. No matter how I look at the defendant, she doesn't appear to be strong enough for that.
Objection!
Doesn't appear? What meaningless dribble. I too may appear to be weak and frail, but I can crush men under my heel and make them weep, should I so choose. Huh. I'd love to make you weep. The objection stands. I wept a little back there, I must admit. That isn't the only issue here. If this sword was truly stabbed into the body up to the hilt, well, just look at all the branches on it. It clearly wouldn't have come out smoothly. There would also be blood on all of it. We also have the problem with the amount of bleeding. It's true that when the blade's left in a body, it acts as a plug of sorts. However, when the weapon is shaped like this, it's an entirely different story. The wound would be too large for the blade to completely stop for the bleeding.
Objection!
That's nothing more than conjecture. In reality, the victim was stabbed with the shishido. Even a weapon of this nature may still sometimes slide out smoothly, and may still sometimes stop the blood loss. May. Is it likely, though? No. I'm not finished. There's still one more conclusive contradiction. You've still got more. This one is simple. If the sword really was thrust all the way to the hilt, why is there only blood to the tip of it? If the witness is telling the truth, then there should be blood along the entire length of the sword. No! Oh, no. Bravo, Miles Edgeworth. Raising this many contradictions from a single piece of evidence, all the other attorneys I know could maybe manage one if that. Well, what does this all mean? You have proven contradictions regarding the murder weapon, but having come this far, there can only be one answer. And that is? The weapon used to kill the victim was not the shishido. What? foolishly foolish idea born from foolish mind of a foolhardy foolish fool. Let's examine this again. What was it that made us think that the sword was the murder weapon? Well, it's because Mr. Gami was holding it. Exactly. However, if you reflect on this, that is the only basis we have to assume such a thing. It's there for symbolic reasons. The impression left by the scene was just too strong. That is what influenced us. It influenced us to believe that the Shishida was the murder weapon. Order. So maybe the Shishida was not the murder weapon. Even if that isn't the case, it changes nothing, Miles Edgeworth. The sister here saw everything. She saw the defendant stab the victim with a sword-like object. That's true. Your response, Mr. Edgeworth? Is that if that is so, I would like the prosecution to answer the obvious question it raises. The obvious question? Yes, namely, where did the real murder weapon disappear to? What? It goes without saying that the police searched the main hall and the surrounding area. Perhaps the prosecution can enlighten us as to if a sword-like object was found. That's... Answer the question, Miss Von Karma. No evidence of that has been found. Another mystery to throw onto this pile. Trial without a murder weapon is a tricky beast. Excuse me, could I say something? I just remembered something, actually. What is it, sister? I was just thinking, it's possible that just maybe what actually happened was it was just over there. What exactly are you going on about here? The murder weapon, I mean. Maybe. I think I might know where the sword was disposed of. Well then, I think we need to hear the testimony from you one more time, sister. Impossible. What else could this old woman have seen? She's seen fucking everything. I saw the weapon murder at around 11 p.m. After asking that it be reported, I went out to the main gate, and there I saw tracks that indicated the snowmobile had been used. It takes 15 minutes to walk to Dusky Bridge, but less than 5 using one of those. Maybe threw the weapon into Eagle River and it came back while I was knocked out. Iris could have done that, and she can drive a snowmobile after all. Witness, please tell us everything you know right away next time. Well, I'm not the best, in the best of shape. Well, with my back and my age, you know. Quite. There were indeed snowmobile tracks in front of the main gate. Here's a photograph. A snowmobile, eh? I see. Well, it certainly is an interesting theory. The tracks begin in front of Hazakura Temple and run all the way to Dusky Bridge. That solves your pesky little problem, yes? The Eagle River's current is quite swift, meaning that it doesn't freeze over in the winter, making it the perfect place to dispose of the murder weapon. Did she really go to the river to dispose of the murder weapon? No. Mr. Edgeworth, your cross-examination. You are sure about that, about the time? Yes, I was worried about it after all. Why was that? Because I have a strong sense of responsibility, especially at the time of the murder, this time of year. The acolyte was being doused in freezing water at the time. I can very well take it easy in the bath all night, could I? So at 11, I decided to leave Hazakura Temple. Her estimation at the time seems reliable, at least. Please continue, sister.
Hold it!
You asked Phoenix Wright to report the crime, correct? Right, the one who trampled me. Seems she is the type to hold a grudge. There isn't a phone in the main hall, so I sent him to the bridge. Mr. Phoenix Wright, he didn't even have his cell phone on him. He had forgotten it at home, apparently. What a naive boy, as always. You know you love it. And not only do I always carry my phone, but I always have my whip in my hand, too. Anyway, I was really scared, and it was taking him a while to get back. So I thought I'd go out by the main gate for a spell.
Hold it!
As I recall, there was a snowmobile outside the main gate when I visited. That's it, that's the one we have. It'll run no matter how much snow falls. Now, you're certain that the snowmobile was there at the main gate when you arrived? Yes, of course. It was parked in front of the gate. So she had already gone and discarded the murder weapon and returned by that time? Not sure if this is really relevant. What should I do? Press further! Fuck it, why not? I need answers to every possible doubt. The snowmobile in question, was it still warm at the time? Huh? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean, eh? What do you mean, Miles Edgeworth? I'm playing to a slow crowd. I'm playing to a slow crowd here. It goes without saying that using a snowmobile will heat its engine. If it was still warm, then it means it was recently used. Oh, I see. I never thought of that. That's right. I overlooked that too. Of course you did. Then answer the question, please, witness. I don't often go around touching hot engines. However, now that you mention it, there wasn't any snow on it. Snow? Yes, for some reason, only the snowmobile wasn't covered in snow. There wasn't any snow on it. Curses. No, the weather data. It stopped snowing after... what time? 11. It stopped snowing at 10:50. Of course there wasn't going to be snow on it. It stopped snowing. Of course there's not snow on it. It was used after 11. It seems highly likely that the killer did use the snowmobile then, eh? How long does it take to get to Dusky Bridge by a snowmobile? I mean, to be fair, it could have been a while ago, though. Who cares? You could just stop to dust out. It takes 15 minutes to walk, but less than 5 with the snowmobile.
Hold it!
In that case, why didn't you use it yourself then? You could have spared yourself some walking. Oh, there's a reason for that. Have we got a moment for me to explain? Probably because you're too short. I think that's why the question was asked in the first place. It was about a month ago. I was driving my beloved little snowmobile, happy as can be. I'd fetched some water and was heading back when I went and crashed into a tree. The tree in my back went crunch, just like that. Crunch. God, I heard this sound. Oh, don't make that sound again. Oh, stop it. I haven't been able to find the courage to write anything since then. Anyway, the killer must have used it. Maybe they threw their and came back when I was knocked out. Yeah, except that's not going to happen. Because your own thing disproves it. There's a single track. And there's just no way.